Welcome to Still Evolving, where we explore the truth behind lasting performance and resilience. Rather than rely on perfection or superhuman ability, our conversation will highlight how real strength emerges through simple, intentional habits grounded in self-compassion, adaptability, and the ability to grow through life's inevitable setbacks. Today's guest is John DeRaeve, a B2B tech sales and marketing expert with 25 years helping companies like Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, and Palo Alto Networks grow their businesses. He's sold everything from display advertising to lead gen and content solutions, building long-term partnerships through empathy and relation-driven sales. Originally from Oregon, John recently moved to Florida with his wife, traveling across the country and exploring new adventures along the way. They're also Disney annual pass holders and love discovering new experiences on the weekends. Please welcome John to the show. John, thank you so much for taking the time and jumping into this conversation today on Still Evolving. Very grateful that you're here, willing to share more on your evolving journey.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. Wonderful. So let's just jump in. Would love to hear more about your journey, reflecting back on parts of that journey, where you came from, what you're working on now, any motivators along the way. So I'll turn it over to you to share more.
Okay. Well, I grew up on a farm, so that was interesting. It really shaped me. I think it shaped me for what I didn't want to do, which was farming. I also grew up with 5 sisters who I think have helped shape me for who I am. But I think the biggest early challenge in my life was finding my own path, or staying on the farm, right? And it was a hard choice, but I really took my own path, which led me to the University of Oregon, studied journalism, and then started interning in television, first news and then sales. I saw that salespeople, they're working normal hours and they're doing pretty well, because I was kind of choosing between news and sales, and sales brought that, I think, reflection of the farm, of what you put into it, you get out of it, right? That kind of aligned, I think, with my values. And so I did follow that path, first to television sales and to online media sales. This was, back in 1998 when the internet was just taking off, and then got recruited into technology, media and sales and publishing. That was kind of changed the course of my career, because it opened up national scope of working with technology companies and marketers across the country and globally. And that's been now almost 30 years of my career has been in technology marketing, B2B marketing in general. And it's ranged from various companies, but it's been an up and down path. But I would say I've had to evolve and change, especially during COVID and after COVID. During COVID was very difficult because I couldn't get in front of my clients. And that's what drives me, is relationships. And that's, I think, what also pulled me into sales. But it was hard to build a relationship strictly online because we weren't allowed to travel. And so I really had to evolve through that period, and now evolving into how do I reach people socially, because email and some engagement methods are just not working like they used to. And people are inundated, right? And their attention span is minimal. So, I'm constantly trying to find out, okay, how do I become a better salesperson, but also cater and reach and qualify prospects and clients that I'm working with, and make their life better, their job better. I want to make them look better internally, right? That's also what drives me. Empathy has also been a big part of my sales career. I think it's been my backbone, and it helps me relate to people and build strong relationships that have gone across companies, right? I think they can always look at me for doing a good job, being trustworthy, and not just selling them something. I didn't want to be seen as a salesperson. I wanted to be seen as a partner, right? And that's always been important to me. But
talk about that role of empathy, John. I'm really curious about, we talk a lot about the power that comes from connection. And you mentioned some of the earliest challenges, going out and following your own path, pursuing your own vision, which was apart from perhaps the family legacy tradition of farming. And then certainly professionally, how the industry has shifted, and now the challenge that may come with getting in front of people, maybe not because of COVID, but like you said, through the use of all the technology, our technology platforms are full, right? If your LinkedIn looks like my LinkedIn,
yes,
it is stacked. So I'm curious the role those connections have played for you along the way. And you talk about kind of the one way of extending the partnership and helping others is is motivating. It's meaningful for you. It serves that value purpose for you, driven in your work. I'm just curious, like, what's been the inverse? Like, how have you used connections, perhaps coaches, mentors, people in your circle to navigate when things became challenging?
Yeah, you just took a social selling course 3 months ago. I felt like I was really struggling to connect with contacts. And in our industry right now, there's probably over 100 companies doing the same thing, right? In what we term lead generation space in B2B marketing. And that's a challenge in itself, because when I started out, it was probably 4 or 5 competitors and publishers I was working against. Now it's over 100, right? So how do you stick out, engage? Everybody's selling a lot of the same things and the same tactics, right? And so I thought, how do I stick out differently? So I took a social selling course, and that helped me start to post on LinkedIn every day. Now I'm 4 months in, and the people that I've run into, like yourself, I've been offered a few podcasts now, and it's opened up whole new audiences for me that I never thought was possible. And it's helped me evolve, as it's almost been therapeutic, because one of the pillars is moments that mattered in your life and what made you who you are. And so I've been able to tell stories, and my own family has read them and they're like, wow, you're a great writer, John. We didn't realize it,
Yeah.
but it's helped me connect with people that I don't even know. And it's also helped me, I think, become a better salesperson on the social element, because it's really a fine-tuned way to target someone, and to engage them, because there's a lot of traditional tactics that they're inundated with emails, they're inundated with phone calls. How do I reach them differently, right? And it's paying dividends now, because I'm meeting people like yourself that probably wouldn't have opened me having not been on the platform or not been as engaged on the platform. So
Sure.
I'm trying to always get better or look at ways to get better.
That openness to learning, but also, when we are in the midst of the storm, it's really easy to kind of just feel not just disempowered, just stuck, right?
Yes.
Like, shit, now what do I do? Where do I turn now? And the power that just comes from action. I talk about a good bit when we look at elite performance in teams or in individuals. There is a common tool that all of them tend to gravitate to, and that is the power of reflection. You hear it in military circles of after action a lot, or debriefings. But indeed, it's after action, right? So we take this moment and we reflect what's working. Maybe we want to keep doing, maybe the place of feeling stuck, what's not happening. But then it took you with that data, armed with that information from the reflection of doing something, like taking action, signing up for a course, maybe writing, maybe connecting with people in a way that leverages your strength of empathy, storytelling, and wanting to connect with the whole person, not just what is a function and feature of XYZ you're selling. That really, it was those actions that then proved momentous, or maybe you then experienced the shift. But it's easy to stay stuck in the shitstorm.
Yes. And
It's easy.
I was stuck, I would say, in kind of my previous few roles. I was stuck. Do I want to stay in this industry, or do I want to find a company that has a product that's game changing? Right. And I actually, I went through a difficult time in 2022 with a divorce, and kind of questioning everything about myself, my soul. I kind of had to find myself again. Stuck with 3 things that were critical. And it was so funny. We had separated, and I was alone in a small town in Oregon. Instagram reels and feeds were coming to me almost from the universe, right? And
Mhm.
one came to me and said, if you're going through difficult times, you got kind of 3 pillars to stick with: faith, your mind, and your body, right?
Mhm.
So that was what I stuck with through that difficult time. And I started doing CrossFit, which I still am doing, which was therapeutic in itself.
Mhm.
And it's kind of that group bonding mentality, right? I
Yeah.
grew up in sports. It kind of aching me back to that time, and everybody pushes each other, right? And then um, I had therapists that were helping me understand how to get through this, how to communicate with my kids through that time. And then faith, I started going to a monastery in Carlton, where 25 monks went every Sunday. And I finally started listening to my intuition, which I hadn't listened to. We all have that intuition, right? And a lot of my life, I hadn't listened to it and have been self-serving and putting the importance of others' feelings ahead of mine because I'm an empath.
Mm.
And so it was interesting that took me to faith and listening to that intuition and told me to go to San Diego. And then I meet my soulmate, and it's the first one I reach out to, and kind of a whole life changes, right? But you learn as you get through something difficult like that. I think you find your foundation again and your soul. I found my soul again, which was life changing. And I think I've had to realize, okay, how do I work with this new soul?
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Still figuring out or still
yeah,
evolving.
yeah, right. Evolving, right?
Shameless plug.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. You mentioned one of those three foundations and what came from it was you're working out with CrossFit, for example. And I'm curious like how that serves as a refueling for you, a sense of recovery from perhaps the grind of the cognitive load that we have in our workplace and how that has evolved for you over time, right? Like if you're like me, I mean, I wish I could still work out the same way I did in my 20s and 30s. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I played basketball even at the Y when I was a mom. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
That's not happening anymore. I can tell you. But nonetheless, even though the workouts have shifted, I know for me, like just moving resistance training, I do a lot more body weight than I
yeah.
used to put plates on. But I'm just curious for you how the physical activity really fuels you, and then also how that even evolves maybe in your journey.
Yeah, I mean, I was too, played basketball a lot growing up and
Hmm.
through my early adult life, but that's not something that I can probably do as well
Right,
at the
right.
age. But CrossFit brought, I think, I had done it back 10 years ago and got hurt my elbow and then stopped. But I felt like I needed something. I needed that 1 hour a day just to myself, pushing myself beyond my own limits a lot of times because these workouts, they're quick, they're an hour, but you have other people pushing you, urging you on, helping you. And I started out with hardly doing any weight on some of these techniques, right? But over time, I got stronger and stronger and stronger. And I'm probably the strongest I've ever been in my life.
Hmm.
And there's cardio in there too. But it helps clear my mind. And a lot of times I do my LinkedIn posts after that session because I have all of these, it kind of clears the mind and then it gives you a lot of creative opening almost, right? I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
really explain it.
And it is remarkable from what you're describing, the benefit that comes not just from physical activity, but what you're describing as a process by which you're challenged by something and
Yeah.
you have to work to overcome it. And through that process of work, you're having this social support, this team environment where you do feel uplifted and like there's yeah, you've got this kind of like a reminder and encouragement. And it is fascinating in our brains how it's wired is
Mhm.
that I think Andrew Huberman walks you through this literature and highlights how like when we set a challenging goal and in that moment, we're able to push and grind and we achieve it. The cascade of benefits, it really helps continue our fuel our motivation and
Yes.
keep going. And then for you, like what you're describing is just, yeah, the cognitive benefits, the neurophysiological response that comes after that exertion is so significant. So that's
Yeah.
exciting. It's always great to have that point reinforced. I'm grateful for you sharing that part of your journey. I always like leaving the audience that immediate actionable takeaway. What's one thing that you do in your daily routine? I know we've talked about exercise and certainly the power that comes from that. But if there's something else that maybe that small tip of advice, that tool, strategy, something you do pretty consistently that you have found to be very grounding, helps fuel your motivation or just helps you keep going, what would that be?
I think it's planning my day. I've taken an executive functioning class 12 years ago now. And I actually have a system of where I'm planning my goals for the year. And then, which you start early in the year, and then you plan a week by week, and you plan out your week on a Sunday, and then you plan out each day. You see, okay, these are the goals I need to reach, but how am I going to reach them? And you kind of work backwards. But that's something that's really helped me stay focused and realize, okay, I'm doing a little bit more every day, whatever role I'm in. And you look back and you realize, okay, I've done quite a bit in the last year, because a lot of times
Yeah.
you don't think about where
Yeah.
you've been and what it
Right.
took to get where you're at now. So that's something that I use, and it's really helped me in time management, in focus, and in reaching my goals as I set forth those.
You gotta have some type of target. I always used
Right,
to talk with people like, well, this was before GPS and
right,
live maps on your phone, but I mean, it used to be we print them out, right? Like the
right.
MapQuest, we print them out, or even way back have the paper maps in the car. But at the end of the day, you gotta know where you're going, and then bat paddling now it's great because the map apps will update you if there's construction, they'll update you if a road's closed, they'll reroute you, right? But how are
Right.
we doing that in our lives and our pursuits towards, maybe it's your dream, maybe it's your long-term goal, but how do you rework that
Mhm.
down to the daily action that really accumulates over time? That deliberate rehearsal of something that accumulates. And if you can break it down, those simple intentional habits do accrue over time. And before you know it, you're closer to your destination. So love that. Thank you. John, a pleasure. I hear your openness to learning and your actions to get there. I appreciate you sharing today and learning from you. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate this. Has been a wonderful conversation, and helps help me reflect on my own life, which is sometimes you don't do. But I
Well, thank
appreciate
you
the
so
opportunity.
much.
Thank you.